The very fabric of our Jamaican culture is woven with so many diverse elements, and we continue exploring a few in today's show. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Your day's news, and then some gems of our heritage. Stay tuned.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, October 20. The Ministry of Education is reporting that the 2021 Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate (CSEC) results are showing improved performance in 7 subject areas when compared with 2020. Portfolio Minister Fable Williams says the subjects are agricultural science, textile, clothing and fashion, human and social biology, integrated science, theatre and visual arts, and music.
This means that in 27 subjects, the results were either similar to or less than they were of that of 2020.
Minister Williams was speaking at a virtual press conference on Tuesday where she revealed the results for the CSEC and CAPE 2021 exams.
In looking at the subject entries, the results show 205,451 subject entries, of which 182,176 or 88.7% were SAT. Of the total entries SAT, 117,844 or 64.7% were awarded grades 1, 2, or 3. I want to end by commending all our students who persevered and did their examinations under very trying and challenging circumstances this year.
Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has identified measures to address the gaps in the latest numeracy and literacy rates. The rates are determined by students' performance in the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate (CSEC) exams. It shows that the 2021 performance was lower when compared with 2019 and 2020.
To address the performance gap, especially in the areas of numeracy and literacy, the National School Learning and Intervention Plan NSLIP, augmented by our specialist teachers model, will address the foundational principles and improve readiness of our students to pursue the CXC syllabi.
Minister Williams says a team of 83 persons has been assigned to provide numeracy support to students remotely and face-to-face at 158 primary and 72 secondary schools across the island. Of the total, 50 are primary math coaches, 19 secondary math coaches, and 14 are math specialists. Still on education, results from this 2021 sitting of the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination (CAPE) shows an overall 88.8% pass rate of grades 1 to 5. This represents 48,702 students who sat the exam. CAPE Unit 1 has a pass rate of 88.3%, while Unit 2 has 90%.
Public schools accounted for some 48,401 or 90.3% of the total subject entries for Units 1 and 2. Of this number, 44,366 or 91.7% subject entries were SAT. The percent of subject entries passed was 89.6%.
The Education Minister says there were improvements in 5 subject areas when compared to the 2020 results. There was also a greater than 90% pass rate for 17 subject areas, applied math being the lowest with 47.3%.
In Unit 2, we had 21 subject areas that had greater than 90% of the students with passes. For 4 subject areas out of the 21 subject areas, 100% of the students who sat got passes. These were animation and game design, electrical and electronic engineering technology, Unit 2, Option A, performing arts, Unit 2, cinematic arts, and performing arts drama. 66% of the students who sat logistics and supply chain operations in Unit 2 had passes.
In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government is considering pairing the CARE program with the island's vaccination drive. Mr. Holness says current efforts remain focused on assisting those who are feeling the effects of the increases in food prices and commodity scarcity caused by the pandemic.
It is something that we would have to, however, think on carefully, because we don't want to, deprive anyone, especially with the basics of food. But inevitably and eventually, the government will have to pair all its resource grants to persons, all its transfers to persons in the social safety net, with them taking vaccination. So that is something, again, that you will see emerging in the future.
He was addressing Friday's vaccination mobilization tour of St. Mary. Mr. Holness is also encouraging Jamaicans to seek information from credible COVID-19 vaccine sources. In the meantime, the Prime Minister says government is in the process of developing a national consensus on COVID-19 vaccination options. He made the disclosure during Thursday's COVID-19 vaccination and mobilization tour of St. Anne. According to Mr. Holness, once the island reaches a 50% COVID-19 vaccination rate, the state would be moving to give Jamaicans a choice to either vaccinate or take up the alternative. These could include being required to test regularly, being restricted from participating in certain social gatherings, or incentivizing taking the jab. He was, however, quick to add that the government would not be implementing a vaccination mandate that would make it compulsory to be inoculated.
If we are going to return to normal, meaning that our economy can operate at full capacity, people are free to move about and gather as they will, go back to school, go back to church, and the government itself can refocus on dealing with crime, keeping our economy going, and addressing all the other issues. The truth is that we need to have a high level of immunization, a high level of vaccination.
And finally, parish courts across the island will be rolling out a case management program by next year. The system will allow criminal matters coming before the courts to be completed within 2 years' time. Chief Parish Court Judge Chester Crooks made the announcement recently during a virtual conversation with the judiciary. With the case management system, he says cases will be categorized and assigned a standard of time for the matter to be closed, based on its complexity or simplicity. Complex cases are expected to be disposed of within 2 years, while simple matters have a 6-month time frame for disposal.
We are presently in the process of seeking feedback from all parish court judges and courts island-wide, and will be looking to implement this program within early to mid next year. This promises to be a paradigm shift for the judiciary and at the parish court level especially, as we want to further enhance the confidence of the public that if a matter ends up in the court, it will be dealt with swiftly, decisively, and with certainty.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The Government of Jamaica and its partners invite you to participate in the 7th Regional Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction in the Americas and the Caribbean Virtual Conference from November 1 to 4. Register online before October 20. Together, we are building resilient economies in the Americas and the Caribbean. Register, join the conversation, and let's take action for a cause.
NIDS bill passed in the House of Representatives. Prime Minister champions vaccination in 4 parishes, and Cabinet holds first physical meeting since December 2020. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. At the start of last week, Cabinet held its first face-to-face meeting in almost a year. The weekly sittings, chaired by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, were held virtually, in line with the government's COVID-19 protocols. But with all ministers, including cabinet ministers, the Attorney General and Ministers of State fully vaccinated, weekly in-person meetings have resumed.
Today, we have taken the decision to return our cabinet to face-to-face, not just for the effectiveness of our decision making, but as a symbol to the rest of the country that yes, we are still in a pandemic. However, we must transition to living with the COVID-19 disease and the coronavirus that causes it.
After several months of consultations, the National Identification and Registration Act 2021 has been approved by the House of Representatives. The bill, known commonly as NIDS, was passed with several amendments. Touting the bill's approval as a great achievement, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says Jamaicans will benefit from an improved quality of life with a national identification system that is efficient and responsive to citizens' needs.
The lack of a transparent and trusted digital identification system hinders the simplification of bureaucracy. It creates an excessively complicated administrative procedure that prevents access to the most vulnerable amongst us.
Mr. Holness also shared plans to create a National Identification and Registration Inspectorate and a Data Protection Commission to monitor compliance with the governing legislation.
We're giving our commitment that this bill will work in favor of the people, it will respect their rights to privacy, it will be forward-leaning in protecting those rights, and it will increase the efficiency, it will increase the well-being and welfare of our people.
The NIDS bill is now before the Senate for its approval.
If you want to return to normal, if you want to go party, if you want to check your friend past 10, take the vaccine.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness on the road this past week as he ramped up government's vaccination campaign. Mr. Holness says new vaccination policies are to be implemented after the government completes its public education campaign.
We will follow the process before we do anything that would infringe on anybody's rights. But the two things can't continue in parallel. The children must go back to school. They have suffered the most. And so there will come a time when we will have to insist upon persons taking the vaccines or be restricted.
While speaking in North Central Clarendon, the Prime Minister revealed that the state was aiming to have 1 million Jamaicans vaccinated by November 30. To meet the target, Mr. Holness says partnerships will be struck with the private sector, trade unions and other stakeholders while ensuring vaccines are used before they expire.
I was not satisfied that we had to destroy 60,000 vaccines. I'm not here casting blame, but I'm saying that all persons should look into themselves, including those who didn't take the vaccines, and in a sense, reflect upon that and say, you know, Jamaica's reputation internationally could have been impacted by this. And our ability to come out of the pandemic in quick fashion would also have been impacted.
Over on his St. Catherine leg of the vaccination mobilization campaign, the Prime Minister called for unity of purpose in returning the country to normalcy.
If it is that we are moving out of a pandemic by taking the vaccines, we should not be making special allocations for COVID care, when there are other illnesses that people have had to be putting off treatment for in order to facilitate COVID care. That can't continue. I believe that the engagement has been effective, one, in reassuring people that the government understands their concerns, that the government is trying to increase the level of awareness and knowledge of vaccines, and that the government will be respectful of their rights, and to explain to them why it is necessary and to reason with them. And my opinion is that it is working.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he brought his vaccination campaign to communities in St. Mary. Similar efforts and engagement were made in St. Anne. Word came Wednesday that Maureen Dwyer would be the acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. This follows Acting Permanent Secretary Dr. Grace McLean proceeding on leave to facilitate an investigation which has been launched into an Auditor General's report concerning fiduciary and related issues at the ministry. In a release, the Office of the Prime Minister OPM says Dr. McLean's leave will ensure there is no hindrance, real or perceived, to the course of the investigations. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
There are many traditional dance forms in Jamaica that are quite distinct from other cultures. Today we'll explore one that's a striking relic of part of what we've retained from our African heritage, Dinky Minnie.
There's no one way to truly play the beat of our Jamaican culture. No one way to unfold the depth of the various movements that are intricately intertwined with the drums, or whatever uniquely made instruments that accompany each other. And certainly, no one way to shake our hips, tap our feet, move our hands or dress to distinguish the truest form of our heritage in dance. But there are certainly several ways to tell the island's tale of musical artistry and infectious rhythms. Today, we tell the story of the African retention in one of our Jamaican traditional folk forms, Dinky Minnie.
In order to showcase the intricacies of this cultural treasure, we visited the Islington Cultural Group in St. Mary. Dinky Minnie is of African origin of the wake and is usually performed on the 2nd to 8th night of the traditional 9 nights after the death of a person. It is very lively and celebratory in nature because its main purpose is to cheer up the bereaved. The distinguishing characteristic and basic movement of Dinky Minnie is dab step.
You can dab to the side or forward and back. So the dabbing movement is on the ball of the foot, the ball, and if the floor is hotter, you're taking it up. Aye, aye. So you get a dabbing step, and you can dab forward and you can dab back. Forward and back, or to the side. To the side or forward and back. You can bend a little more. And you can forward and back. The more you bend, that's what you get the beauty of the movement.
Another movement is the gallop step, which is done with the knees together as the dancer hoops and splay the legs apart with the knees still held close. The flexed foot pumping movement happens when the weight is firmly on the left foot. The right foot is then flexed, and this working leg is pumped across the body in quick jabbing movements. The corkscrew movement is also done, but mostly by the ladies. It is a spiral rotation of the torso, using the ball of the right foot and the left one flat on the ground.
And I should say, in the Dinky Minnie, the dominant thing for the males is the knock knee. Just as what I was doing the dabbing, the knock knee, the knock knee.
Dinky Minnie is considered a dance for couples and takes the form of a ring game, utilizing circles and semicircles. The dancers sing using mento style, and the songs are mainly call and response.
the dominant instrument in Dinky Mini is the benta. The benta is like 4 joints of bamboo, and in the middle is like a piece of it is lift and replaced with some strings like line, and then on that line and attached with 2 bars at the ends, and it is placed on a block when it is being played, and then you have the gourd, we call it gourdy. The seeds are taken from it, and there's one hole in it, and that hole, from that, it moves along the strings, the line that they use for the strings, and it gives a nice little sound. A coo, a coo, a coo. So as the gourd move along the strings, it gives a nice little sound. A coo, a coo, a coo, and that is where you get the steps from, the dabbing step.
Other instruments such as the grater and rattle and bass drums join in keeping the dancers going.
We have to remember that for our traditional folk forms, they can dance forever. That's why you find that when they go to the night and dance, they can dance from night right back to the next morning. Why? Because all of our movements is basically done in a bent knee position. And when you're in a bent knee position, you can dance, you're relaxed, and you can dance for a long period of time.
Like all the other African retention folk forms, there is a specific dress code for both genders. Loose skirt and peasant blouse for the females, and tailored pants and a dashiki shirt for the men. Today, Dinky Mini is mostly practiced in its home parish, St. Mary. But it is also commonly performed as part of the annual Jamaica Cultural Development Commission's Festival of the Performing Arts Competition. No matter where it is practiced, it's hard to not notice Dinky Mini in action, with its distinctive rhythm, which plays a key role in our island's rich traditional dance legacy.
We move from traditional dance to dress. Up next, the bandana. Here's the history behind the fabric.
Compliments on your madras.
Same to you.
Thank
like it.
Well up then, so what is madras? Make we sit down. Young but really no know Sam.
Aye, sir.
Madras is what we call bandana. So madras is basically a cotton plaid fabric which came from India and was brought to Jamaica by the indentured laborers after slavery ended. But every Caribbean island have a little touch of this, you know.
They have a different pattern.
Right.
And so, them use it to identify each Caribbean island.
It is important to note that the broader plaid, which is referred to as the Miss Lou bandana, is the original material that was used in Jamaica. And as time progressed, the finer plaid came on stream, which is the red bandana with mixtures of blue and black.
The word bandana is actually Hindi. And everybody knows that Hindi is the language that the people from India speak. Now the word bandana means to tie. And that's why most people associate bandana with tying your head. But in Jamaica, we don't use bandana per se. We use any kind of fabric for tie head, you know. All we do, we just wrap it around their head in a circle and we tie the back so that when them put the goods on top of it, it all on balance.
What on it? So basket here.
Oh, so now, me can carry me a Kigali Linstead Market.
You know,
and the history continues. You know, I spoke to Auntie Faye the other day. Everybody in here must know Faye Ellington, right? Yeah, man. She said, by the way, you ever see Sheena Faye bandana?
Yes.
She pretty not true?
Man.
Yeah, man. Now, she told me the other day that bandana was used by the female vendors in the market. They use the bandana as bib. The same thing that we call
apron.
And they also use it to tie them head, and they use it also as scarf. It is also popular to note that the working class women used to wear the bandana.
Yes, yes.
But they were looked down on because they wear it. But they were persistent.
Yes.
They wore it with dignity and pride.
That is very right.
And they were the one who actually legitimized the bandana.
You didn't know a bandana is not just a costume. It also helps us to identify as Jamaicans. You understand what I'm saying? Over the years, the bandana has evolved. Because as time change, people stands on different things, it change as well. So today, bandana is considered to be our unofficial costume. National costume. So look here now. Miss Lou was the one that really made bandana so popular, Yes, man. Every time she would do one of her theatrical performances, Miss Lou would dress up in her bandana. And anytime anybody gonna do any of her poems, where them use bandana. And now everybody want a little touch of bandana.
And them now wearing it at the Miss Universe,
You lie.
and the Miss World, and the Festival King competition.
You see, the bandana is not only one style you can wear it, For example, me is not wearing the original kind, Me is wearing Simply Precious design. Yes, man. Normally how them wear it is, them wear it in a one nice flare skirt, and then them pair it now with a wonderful white top. They put a piece of the bandana or the madras around the neckline, or even put it around the sleeve sometime, just to add a little oomph and spice to it. So over the years, it has become more stylish and stylish and stylish. And then, of course, the man them normally wear a nice little shirt with the madras or the plaid, and then pair it with a black pants or with a white pants. And if you're fancy and in high fashion, you put a scarf around it, right?
Or even a head tie.
Thank you very much. So you see, all in all, bandanas come a far way. From the marketplace to haute couture.
High fashion, high fashion.
That's right. Bandana come from India, reach a Jamaica, and all in all, bandana
is here to stay.
What
a joyful news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart will burst. Jamaican people colonizing England in reverse.
By the hundreds, by the thousands, from country and from town, by the shipload, by the plane load, Jamaica is England bound. But what are the government plan England? Them brave the war and face the worst. But I don't know how them Western colonizing in reverse.
Bandana, bandana, a part of we identity, a bandana, a bandana, oh a bandana, a part of we identity, a bandana.
Make a draw for the madras. Oh, put on the madras. Yes.
A part of we identity, a bandana.
Jack Mandora, me no choose none.
Our aim is always to provide well-needed edutainment, and we hope that was achieved through today's program. As always, thanks for committing 30 minutes of your day to us. Our refresher of yesterday's journey and others can be had through the JIS's YouTube channel. And while you're online, please visit the JIS's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.